This is a time for an honest conversation about the real journey of motherhood, the stuff that doesn't really get talked about. So please welcome Sarah Nicole Landry and Bee Quammie. Come in, my ladies. Yeah, let's hug it out. Let's hug it out. Because I don't get to see you both in real life. Have a seat. Thank you for joining us. You know, the moments after welcoming a baby are supposed to be filled with joy, celebration, and lots of newborn cuddles. Like, remember all the commercials? And it's like, and it's two parents and there's a baby between you and you all woke up after a beautiful 9 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
And it's clean and it's quiet.
It's clean, it's quiet, it's beautiful. It's like there's an angelic light. That's not the case for all mothers. Even celebs are speaking out. Chrissy Teigen revealed that she didn't realize that she had postpartum depression until her daughter, Luna, was 3 months old. Cardi B told Harper's Bazaar, "I thought I'd avoid postpartum. The doctor warned me, but I felt fine. Then suddenly, everything felt heavy." Alanis Morissette told CBS, "I asked my doctor, does this go away if I just white knuckle through it? She said, no, it actually gets worse. So I went on medication right away." Now, what's good about this is that more women are opening up. Post-baby life can be a tough journey. Sarah, you recently shared that you were starting to feel yourself again 3 years after having Lemmy.
Yes.
Talk to us a bit about that. That's, some people might look at that and say 3 years. Isn't it 6 weeks?
I know, and I don't want it to be daunting. I want it to be beautiful because I think that I came into having my fourth child. I hadn't given birth in over a decade, and coming into the experience, my life was very different. I was much more established. My kids were older, and now I'm going to have teenagers and like tweens and teenagers and a baby. It was a lot all at once, and I felt like I was holding on to multiple dreams, and I was trying hard to balance it all. That's the biggest question they always ask women: how do you balance it all? And I really had to sit there and go, I'm not balancing. Actually, there's a lot of drop balls, and I'm just really hoping they're not the glass ones. And so I really started talking a lot more online about the realm of grief and the fact that for me, I really had to let go of the version I was before I had not just the first baby that I had at 21, but this new baby I had at 36, and how I really had to let go of her time and time again. And that with each time I processed a little bit more change, I felt like myself again, not because I was returning to somebody I was, but because I was meeting myself where I was at, and I was able to start embracing her through her change, through her life circumstance, all of it. And I'm really glad that I let myself go right through all the feelings and advocating for yourself, going to the doctors, getting yourself checked, all those things that they poke and prod at you the whole pregnancy. You give birth 6 weeks later, nobody's going to come and check on you again. You've got to do it for yourself.
And you're hearing a lot from moms. Like, are you getting big reaction from moms when you talked about this whole idea of meeting yourself where you're at?
Yeah, I mean, I was a little afraid when I put that out there because I thought, does anybody else have this feeling where it didn't happen for them 6 months in, and maybe it's happening 3 years down the road where they're finally like, okay, look this is, we're doing it. Not only did we do it, but we're doing it. And it maybe wasn't the movie vision that we had. I think that one video I did was shared over 12,000 times.
Wow.
And that really woke me up to being, okay, there's a lot of us, and some people were saying, you know what, I'm 8 years, and I'm really just starting to feel it. I'm really starting to feel like myself again. Again, not a version of before, but the version I am now.
The thing that was so surprising for me about motherhood is this idea, I didn't know I was going to have to fight so hard for myself. So I have to, like, who am I? Who am I? How do I find her? How do I have the space a little bit to find who I am? Bee, you suffered with depression, as did I, after giving birth. What was that journey experience like?
Yeah, with my first daughter, I had read a lot about postpartum depression during my pregnancy to kind of prepare. Just in case, right? And what essentially happened was I did have postpartum depression. It just didn't look like anything I had read. So then I just assumed it wasn't. Everything I read was all about, you know, mothers who just don't feel an attachment to the baby, can't stand to hear the baby cry, those types of things. Mine manifested more in the realm of thinking I was not good enough for this baby. I was so highly self-critical that I ended up having some really dark thoughts and thinking maybe this baby will just be better off without me because I'm gonna screw this baby up. And it took really kind of interventions from family members to really come in and say something is going on. You need to talk to somebody and get some help because this is not how you should be feeling. So I learned postpartum depression can look very different.
Were you surprised? Like, I remember being shocked at myself.
Yeah.
Because you have to get over beating up yourself for being sad.
Yes.
I wanted this pregnancy. It was a great pregnancy. I had the baby. I have this family that I wanted, and now I'm sad. What is wrong with me?
Yeah.
So were you surprised by it? And also, I would love to know the family member, like how they did that intervention, and did you believe them?
Right, right. So to answer your first question, I was very surprised. And there was a lot of surprises that came in. Another surprise was learning that my mom had postpartum depression with me, which we had never talked about until I started opening up. And then just adding to that critical voice of, oh, you wanted this, so you shouldn't feel this way. You shouldn't be struggling, and having to really kind of fight that inner voice. But it was actually between my mother and my mother-in-law and my sister-in-law who descended upon the house one day and said, we need you to sit down, we need to have a conversation, and we need to find out where you go from here. So I just felt like finally somebody saw me, because I was scared to be the one to say how much I was struggling.
Yes. I'm just going to throw in there with my experience. What's shocking is I'm so close to my parents, but I didn't tell them. It was my husband who realized I had stopped eating. And like, I never stop eating. That was a red flag right there. And I remember him cutting up my food into tiny little pieces and trying to, like, I'm still raw about it, and I have a 15-year-old. Cutting up my food into tiny little pieces and feeding me. And so he talked to a girlfriend of mine, and he said, she's struggling. I don't know what to do. And it was that girlfriend that called me tomorrow, and she's like, what's going on, Trey? And I'm like, I'm sad. I'm crying inside the house. I'm crying outside the house. I'm crying at the gym. I'm crying in the shower. There's no end to the tears. And I said, it's harder than I thought it was going to be. And she said, it is hard. We don't talk about how hard it is. It's hard, right?
Very, very.
But you almost need that person. Oh, I'm okay for the tissues, honey. I got it back together. I see them running around with a box of tissues back there. I got it together. I'm pulling it in. But I think that we, at the risk of, I don't always want to talk to moms about how difficult it is, because I'm afraid that I'm going to be that doomsday person that's telling them all the bad stuff. At the same time, I'm like, if you are feeling off at all, if there's anything that you feel you're not feeling like yourself, I'm here. Talk to me. We can talk about any of the things. 100%. So I want to talk a little bit about this idea of prioritizing our minds rather than our mirrors. And that came from you, Bee. Like, what do we need to do to start switching the conversation from the bounce back to our mental health?
Exactly. You know, and I think, Sarah, you kind of spoke to this initially as well about meeting yourself where you're at. I find that the conversation around snap back and the bounce back, we relate it to our bodies, because when you step into motherhood, you're grieving who you've lost, you're meeting this new version of yourself, and for a lot of us, we're still trying to find some way to control and be the person that we've always known ourselves to be. So an easy way to do that is like, I can still get back into the jeans I wore before, I can still get back into the dress I wore before. So I think we really have to start to think about, even when we're talking about the bounce back and the snap back, what's happening mentally, and how do we need to have those conversations, right? So it's really just releasing that and thinking about, who are you and what is the emotional side of this, and what is the mental side that's coming into play?
We have so much more to discuss. Thank you both for sharing your journey with